even though I was able to eliminate three options out of the five that were available, but I was always stuck between the two options. And
Right.
more often than not, I eventually ended up marking the
The
incorrect
wrong one.
answer.
Yeah.
Right, right. So how I improved upon it, first of all, pre-thinking came to the rescue. I pre-thought every answer because before reading the options, I read the passage thoroughly. I made a framework of all what I read. I prepared notes out of it, and
Right.
then I read the question. I pre-thought the answer, and once I was confident that whatever I have thought uh, exactly matches to what I read in the passage, that is when I went on to read the options. If anyone wants to make an improvement, be it they are at a 555 score or a 755 score, if they need to improve, they have to go through the process of drilling down the mistakes that they made in their first mock and going multiple levels at the analysis. Polyrenium and the e-GMAT course has prepared us for the worst. The difficulty level of the questions that we have is so high. And once
Right.
you are used to and accustomed to the higher difficulty level questions, the questions in official mock test and the official exam seem so easy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another debrief session with me. My name is Dhruv. I'm one of the senior mentors and strategy experts at e-GMAT. Today, I'm pleased to have Aayush with me. Aayush recently scored a fantastic 715 on the GMAT Focus Edition. To give you a brief about his improvement and his journey, Aayush was starting at a verbal 79 and he improved that to a verbal 83. Ayush started his quant with a Q87. His quant was always his strength, but there was some scope for improvement, which is where Ayush worked hard on his quant and went up to score a fantastic Q90, which is 100th percentile, a rare phenomena. Ayush's DI improved from a DI 77 to a DI 84, 97th percentile on data insights. Again, something that doesn't happen every day. And to help GMAT aspirants understand about his journey, the rights and the wrongs, Aayush is here, which is why I welcome you, Aayush, and thank you so much for doing this. How are you?
Thank you so much, Dhruv, for having me. First of all, it feels great on scoring the 99th percentile in the GMAT, which I have, dreamt of from last couple of years. So it feels great to finally having achieved that dream, and looking forward to having a very meaningful conversation with you so that I can share a few points that helped me during my journey and would hopefully help our viewers and listeners. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Same, yes, likewise. All right, Ayush, before we begin with your journey and we dissect it into different parts, let us give our viewers a bit about your background, a bit about your academics and your professional background.
Sure. So currently, I have been working in the capacity of a software engineer in quality assurance department in
Okay.
IT domain. I have been working for past 5 years.
Mhm.
So I graduated in 2019. I did my engineering from Govind Vallabh Pant University of Agriculture and Technology. And prior to that, I did my schooling from JC's Public School here in Rudrapur. I'm basically based out of Rudrapur in Uttarakhand, a small
Okay.
town in Uttarakhand. And I was fairly decent in my academic. I scored a 9.8 CGPA in my 10th, a 91.4 percentage in my 12th, and a
Okay.
decent score during my graduation as well. So the idea was always to do an MBA right from the college. Uh, Basically, the idea to do an MBA germinated in college because back in college, the idea of doing an MBA sounded very cool because for a young student in graduating out of college, it felt like that MBAs, people who have done their MBAs, talk to higher management level stakeholders, had the power in decision making. So it sounded cool to me. So
Right.
this is where the initial idea of doing an MBA germinated. But when I got into the corporate life, this idea took a back seat and I started focusing more on my work. But again, after a couple of years, 3 to 4 years to be precise, this idea again rose, and which is why I decided to write GMAT and then apply for the leading B schools across the world. So this
Right.
was a short story and a brief background. Yeah,
All right.
I would like to talk more about it in future as we proceed.
Absolutely. Right. Thank you so much for that background. So Ayush, you mentioned that you always wanted to do an MBA,
Right.
and you took some professional experience, and now you're good to go. GMAT is out of the way as well, and in style, right?
Yep.
The first step whenever you decide to commence your GMAT journey is to find out the right resources that you believe will fit you the best, right? So my question to you is, what was your process of choosing the right GMAT preparation course for yourself, and how did you land up at e-GMAT?
Right. So, like I mentioned, that the idea for doing an MBA was uh, started back in my college days, and like every other Indian engineering male, I decided to write CAT and scored 98.03 in my first attempt. So,
Mhm.
even though the score was decent, I was able to convert multiple calls into final admits, and I received final admits from few IIMs as well. But uh, I thought that if I could score a 98.03 percentile in my first attempt, why not give it a second try and improve on it so that I could land up in the old IMs, which are ABCs to be precise, which is the
Right.
dream of every MBA aspirant here in India. So
Absolutely.
I wrote the CAT again, scored 99 percentile in the next attempt. But since the engineer males in India are overly represented, I did not even get a call for interview from old IIMs, which
Oh,
is when I decided to ditch the idea of doing an MBA from India, and I started focusing more on my work. But since I was focusing, I was doing good at my work, and I was receiving all the appreciation from my seniors. But my role always lacked a decision-making power. Uh,
mhm.
I was told what to do. I was putting in 100% of my efforts in my work. I was delivering results, but I was not able to have a say in the direction and in which direction the product would move. So,
Right.
uh, so the idea of having the right to say uh, is directly linked with the MBA profile, which is why I
Mhm.
decided to do the MBA. And initially, I thought that I have already written CAT, so GMAT should not be much difficult for me. So I started
Yeah.
preparing for it myself, and I
Mhm.
started using free resources which are available on the internet. So after having prepared for some time, for a couple of months, I decided to take free mock tests that are available from all the various resources that are available
Right.
on the internet. So one of the mock tests which I took was the free Sigma mock test that
Right.
e-GMAT offers. So since it was a free, I decided to take a shot at it. So while I did decently in that mock, but I scored a mere 77 in the DI section of it.
Right.
So I got 10 questions correct and 10 questions right. So which is where I realized that DI is something that has a huge potential from improvement for me. And in fact,
Right.
I enjoyed doing DI. So I thought, let's give it a try. And
Mm.
I can improve my score drastically since I already like doing DI and there
Right.
is room for improvement. So although while I got in touch with e-GMAT, it was I think around 1st of August, and I had already scheduled my examination, the official exam, GMAT exam, on 15th of August. So I had roughly around 2 weeks to play around. So
Right.
I got in touch with you guys. I took the two month subscription, and I thoroughly engaged myself on improving the DI part of it and spent
Right.
the two weeks working on and improving on DI. And as a result of which, my DI score shot up from 77 to 84 in the actual exam.
Right.
So the major part of this improvement, I would like to credit to the e-GMAT team and specifically the playlists that have been created by Payal ma'am. Owning
Right.
the data set was one thing that really stick with me, and that was a major factor in improving my score.
Okay. Now that we're talking about data insights,
Mhm.
let's just dive a little deeper into it, right?
Sure.
You mentioned that you took a free e-GMAT Sigma X mock and you scored a DI 77 there. It was very clear that data insights needed some improvement, right?
Right.
Let's address one thing at a time. Okay. So the first thing, what was the most challenging thing that you found during that mock that made you realize, okay, these are my challenges in data insights and I need to overcome them? What were those challenges?
So the first thing was I was decent in data sufficiency to begin with. I did not have much challenges over there because data sufficiency is directly linked to the quant, and quant
One.
being my strongest, I had no issues with that. The major pain point was multi-source reasoning, MSR. Uh,
Okay.
MSR was I mean, a black hole for of time for me. It
Right.
really sucked out the time out of me, and as a result, even though I was having a fair accuracy at it, but I was left with very little time for the later questions that were about to come. And
Right.
I had to rush towards the end. And as a result of which, I made silly mistakes. And in fact, at times, I was not able to complete the test in the
Mm.
given time frame also.
Okay.
So MSR was the biggest pain point. And second was how I managed the time so that I do not end up rushing towards the end. So these were the
Right.
two major areas of improvement.
Right. So you were going through the course very diligently. After we finish discussing, I'll show all those course grades and the scholarly stats.
Right.
Uh, so how did you leverage the course and its structure to make sure that you go from a DI 77 to a DI 84?
Right. So here, like I mentioned, the course curriculum, the course structure, and the expertise of Pile ma'am came to my rescue.
Okay.
While I was going through the course, I realized that uh, if I master the skill of solving the multi-source reasoning questions within, let's say, 7 to 8 minutes, the complete three question set, if I was able to solve them, I do not have to worry about the timings of it, the
Okay.
time management of it. If I am able to solve the set properly, accurately, and within the given time frame, the rest questions were easy to follow, and I
Mhm.
should be able to do them. So,
Okay.
uh, owning the data set, the principle that Pileman preaches, was very helpful to me. While I was going through the multi-source reasoning data sets, I simply came from a mind frame that I have written these data sets and I should know every detail like the back of my hand. And
Mhm.
once I am into the questions, I should not have to look back to the passage. I should know the passage so thoroughly that all those questions should become second nature to me.
Yeah.
Uh, this is the strategy that I followed. That once I'm going through the passage, I will make sure that every detail, every intuition or every reasoning that has been listed in the passage should directly be understood by me, and I should feel that I should not have to look again and again to the passage while solving the question. So
Mhm.
this is one practice that I followed and solved multiple data questions, multiple
Right.
MSR questions. And
Right.
once I was sure that this practice has become second nature to me, I think I was good to go, and the results showed.
Yeah. True. True. Let us just go to your DI account and just show everybody how well you did there. Just a minute. Here we are. Look at these grades, all A grades, indicating
Right.
sheer diligence. I mean, whatever you just mentioned about your approach in DI,
Mhm.
these grades they validate it. Okay.
Right.
So this is data sufficiency, but I think this is something that your was your strength. So you did not
Mhm.
really focus much there. But I think look at anything that Ayush was not sure of, and he did that thoroughly. Another,
Right.
you know, PPA where all the
Totally.
grades are A. Let's see multi-source reasoning. Again, a few B's because
Hmm.
those were challenging, but there
Right.
were A's as well that showed that you kept trying.
Yeah.
You did not simply just give up. And to just show everybody your your scholarly stats. These are hard
Hmm.
accuracy of your last 20 questions.
Hmm.
Look at your MSR. It's a whopping 70%.
Right.
Two-part analysis is at 80%. Data sufficiency is at 90%. And graphs and tables is at a 65%.
Right.
Right? And if I make it last 10,
Hmm.
things have only improved.
Yeah.
Right? And let us look at individual improvements also. We go to skill data.
And even if there is a minor dip in one of the sections, that
right?
was probably because I was trying around, I was playing around, I was trying different things
Right.
because I was so confident of my skill by the end that it gave me an option to play around the thing, play around with the things.
Absolutely. I mean, look at this. This is graphical interpretation.
Right.
Your hard accuracy was at 43% when you started,
Hmm.
and this 43% changed to 73%, right? And the
Right.
time also came down marginally. I think you were
Hmm.
taking what 2 minutes and 54 seconds to answer a hard question. This
Right.
came down to 2 minutes and 42 seconds also,
Hmm.
right? Let us look at table analysis, and then data sufficiency also improved, even though
Hmm.
you did not do the course. You
Right.
started with a 73% on hard questions and improved to 93. And the time came down drastically in data sufficiency.
Hmm.
2 minutes 6 seconds to 1 minute 48 seconds. That is fantastic, right?
Right.
So you,
Yeah.
I think those few days before the test, first attempt, I think you were absolutely banging the doors of excellence in DI. MSR
Right.
accuracy improved from 55%
Hmm.
to 75%.
Yep.
A
And
lot of
also,
data here.
uh,
Yeah, tell me.
you might see a dip from 75 to 70 in the last leg of
Yeah,
it. You were showing the progression in MSR, I think. So there was a dip from 75 to 70% in the last leg. That is
yeah.
because towards the end, I only focused on the hard questions, and the
Okay,
questions I was regularly getting wrong. So these are the questions that I primarily focused towards the end. So there might be a dip of a couple of points,
right.
but if you see the bigger picture from start to the end, every section, you would notice that there is a very great
Yes,
increase.
true,
Yep.
true, very true. So the reason why I was showing this account is to just testify whatever you mentioned was actually what you did. You're not just preaching. You practice what you preach. What you're preaching now, right? And your
Yes.
grades and your scores, your improvement, it shows how sincere you were towards your DI improvement. Now let's put DI aside. DI
Mhm.
84, 97th percentile, fantastic achievement. Congratulations. Let
Thank
us move to a Q90, which doesn't really happen a lot. Okay. We always tell students that you start with your strength on the test, and if that's quant, it gives you a huge chance to go and score a Q90, right? You did exactly that, right? But when you took your first official attempt, you scored a Q87, which honestly is a dream score for many, but for somebody like you who knew could actually score a Q80 was a disappointment,
you.
right?
Right.
Did that experience humble you a little and tell you that, okay, quant is a strength, but I think there is some scope for improvement?
Right. It did humble me to begin with, but m- most importantly, it also ignited a fire that quant is my strongest section, and I
Right.
should not be settling for anything less than a Q90. I mean,
True.
that is something that comes naturally to me. Uh, it's a very old cliche that engineers are really good at maths, and
Yeah.
so am I. Nothing exception about that. So quant has always been my strongest suit, and in order to achieve the overall score of 99 or 100 percentile, the idea was clear from the beginning that there is nothing that I should be settling where I score anything less than 90 in quant. So,
Right.
like you mentioned, that even though it did humble me to begin with, but it also ignited the fire that I should be aiming for nothing less than a 90 in quant.
Right. True. True. You know, one of the biggest advantages of the last mile push program, which you are a part of,
Mhm.
uh, is that the mentor who's there with you to accompany you in this journey gives it that human touch and
Right.
is somebody who strategizes things for you, so that you don't have to worry about that. And when you came to me after your first official attempt with the Q87, I knew that Ayush did not have to spend a lot of hours going through the entire course, right?
Right.
Although we had the pace engine to tell you what you were good at and what you were not good at, but a Q87 indicates that you are good at almost everything, right?
Yep.
The problem is just refining your skills, which is why I recommended that you don't do the course, you just use quant scholarinium, which you did to the best possible effect. You, I think,
Right.
exhausted everything
Yep.
on scholarinium. You just leverage whatever you had. I want to understand, how did just quant scholarinium help you refine your skills and go from a Q87 to a Q90?
Right. So, like you mentioned, that I did not make use much of the playlist that we have and the course that we have. I
Yeah.
basically focused all my efforts on the Scholarinium and the Sigma mock test. So, uh, actually, I did not think much of it, that how I am going to solve, what areas I am going to improve on. Uh,
Mhm.
like every area was in quant was my strength to begin with. So
Yeah.
like we discussed also, that I just need to take as many as mock tests, as many as cementing quizzes in that I could take, because
Mhm.
it was important for me to get into that time frame and that environment where I am already giving a test, and while actually writing the GMAT exam, I should not feel away from home. I should feel that I am in my comfort zone, and I should not make many silly mistakes and should minimize them as much as possible, because silly mistakes was only the area that could pull my score down in quant. There was no challenge for me, and Scholarly made sure that I minimized on my silly mistakes, because while I was also talking to you during our preparation phase, you focus heavily on creating an error log. So
Right.
while I was solving the questions on Scholarinium, I thoroughly maintained an error log. I analyzed all the errors that I was making, and finally I could see a pattern in them, that where
Mhm.
silly mistakes I was making, in which type of questions, in what type of calculations. And once I
Right.
analyzed those silly mistakes, those errors of mine, I could improve upon them, and eventually I was able to score 100 percentile in quant. In
Right.
fact, I would like to mention a point that you specifically made during our conversations, that in one of the mails you mentioned that Ayush, congratulations on the scores that you're achieving in quant, but we do not have to write every test left, right, and center. The most important part is to analyze the mistakes. So,
Yeah.
initial mistake that I was doing, I was putting in so many efforts in taking multiple quizzes, in solving many questions. But
Yeah.
what I was lacking was to analyze the mistake that I was making. So
Mhm.
the feedback that you gave, that we do not have to take tests left, right, and center, and the most important thing is to analyze, which is when I started seeing the results only
Yeah.
after I worked on the analysis part of it and improved my mistakes.
Right. Right. I do remember that very vividly, that I
Yeah,
wrote to you, don't take test left, right, center, because when I was going through your profile, I saw that you were like at it. You just wanted to do every possible thing,
yeah,
which did make me feel good that Ayush is so committed and he just is so enthusiastic that he wants to get this done. And but it's important. It's good to have a lot of energy, but which is where you need a mentor to just tell you how to channelize that energy, right? And which is exactly what I was trying to do. And I'm glad that you took it as a positive feedback, because I think when you surrender yourself, you see results, and that is
right,
exactly what you did. So I'm really glad about that. Right, now, let us show everybody your Scholaranium stats. Okay.
right.
uh, I don't know how proud you would be of it, but I am extremely proud of it, because I mean, you don't get to see such stats every day, right? So this is your Scholaranium dashboard. We go to
The
hard
funny part,
questions. Yeah,
yeah,
tell
sorry
me.
to cut you. The funny part about it is that I use 105% of the resources that were available.
Yes, there is a logic to it.
So, yeah,
I'm not sure if you're aware of it, but there's a logic to it. The logic is that when you take a Sigma X mock,
yes,
Sigma X mock, every Sigma X mock has a question bank.
right.
Not all the questions are used there.
Mhm.
So the ones which are not used are added to your Scholaranium account,
Right.
which is why you see 105% here.
I just wanted to, I mean, emphasize on the fact that I was not happy with the 100%. In fact, went overboard with the percentage of it. So,
Right.
even though there were 641 questions to begin with, more questions kept on adding as I took the Sigma mock test.
Yeah.
And I did not settle for anything less in quant, even though uh, Q87, like you mentioned, is a dream score for many students. But
Yeah.
I did not settle for anything less in quant also.
True. 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 And Ayush, the good thing wasn't that you were chasing a score.
Right,
You were chasing just excellence.
exactly.
Whatever you're saying right now doesn't tell me that, always wanted to score a Q90. It wasn't just about that. It was about how do I reach there,
Right. And
right?
justifying more than anyone else, I wanted to justify and prove it to myself that I am worthy of scoring a Q90.
Exactly. Right. So that is why I'm so proud of it,
Right.
right? Because it wasn't just about the number, it was about how do I reach there, right? And if you look at this, your last 20 hard questions accuracy on quant, number properties,
Hmm.
85%, word problem 100%, algebra 90%, advanced topics 80%, right?
Hmm.
And this only improves.
Hmm.
The last 10 hard accuracy for number properties is 90%, Ayush,
Right.
right? And to just let's go to your improvement here. So number property had it was already good at 72% hard accuracy. That
Hmm.
improved to 80%, right? Word
Hmm.
problems again, always good, 81%. There was a dip at 73. That 81 went on to 100%, and the
Right.
time for WP came down from 2 minutes 36 seconds to a mere 2 minutes and 12 seconds, right?
Right.
Then let's take a look at this. Advanced topics was kind of stable, but still a bit of improvement. 77% hard accuracy
Hmm.
improved to 80%, right? So
Yes.
there was always improvement that we were looking at when we look at your journey, right? So again,
Yes.
fantastic. Congratulations on a Q90. Let us move to verbal, which was your weakest section,
Right.
right? You did improve from a V79 to a V83. So let's not take anything away from that. But what were your challenges in verbal? Take us through that first.
Right. So, being an engineering student, I have always uh, had this idea that the questions are solved on paper. So,
Right,
which is why I was good at quant. I was good at the DI part of it, the data sufficiency. And in fact, to some extent, I was also good at critical reasoning because there is some logic to it. And I mean, you can deduce logic out of the critical reasoning. But while I was working on the verbal ability, mostly on the reading comprehension part of it, I was not able to move pen. I was not able to write anything. I was not able to come to a answer which I could take from my paper and simply mark it on the exam. I
right,
was not able to, move my pen while I was thinking. So this was the biggest challenge for me, as like I mentioned that I always had this notion of solving a question on paper and then reaching to a solidified answer, which is
right,
100% correct, and then marking that answer out of the available options.
right,
So reading comprehension was totally different over here because first you have to read everything that is written in the passage, then you have to think logically within the mind, and then you have to come to the most probable answer, while the other options are also very close to the correct answer and are
right,
uh, equally, if not more worthy of being the correct answer, they are also very close to the correct answer. There are, and in addition to that, there are multiple traps which are hidden in the question,
hmm,
which there would be a significant or a very small word that would make a very seemingly correct question incorrect. Just
right,
a word would make a question correct, incorrect rather than being the correct answer. So
right,
the primary challenge that I initially faced was eliminating the incorrect options and
right,
reaching to a correct answer. Even though I was able to eliminate three options out of the five that were available, but I was always stuck between the two options. And
right.
more often than not, I eventually ended up marking the
The
incorrect
wrong one.
answer.
Yeah.
Right, right. So how I improved upon it? First of all, pre-thinking came to the rescue. I pre-thought every answer because before reading the options, I read the passage thoroughly. I made a framework of all what I read. I prepared notes out of it, and
Right.
then I read the question. I pre-thought the answer, and once I was confident that whatever I have thought uh, exactly matches to what I read in the passage, that is when I went on to read the options, so that
Okay.
reading options in advance does not, I mean, hinder my thought process. So
True.
after coming to an answer from the pre-thinking process, that is when I read the options, and which option matched the closest to my pre-thought answer, I then marked that particular answer, and which is where I started seeing the results and improvements.
Understood. Understood. To just show people, everybody your verbal scholarly stats. Again, fantastic. Here we go. This is hard last 20 accuracy. It was 80% for CR and 75% for RC,
Right.
right?
Yep.
I think, and this only improved, right? So the last
Yes.
10 hard attempts, CR I think stayed the same 80, but RC improved to 80 as well from 75. So I actually think that you could have done way better on the test as well, right? Do you think there was some
Yep.
underperformance there, or what was it?
I think there must have been some underperformance because I was scoring very heavily in the Sigma mock test, in the Scholarium test. And in fact,
Right.
in the official mock test that GMAT offers, I was scoring very heavily on the verbal part of it as well.
Yeah.
So definitely there might have been some underperformance on my part in the final attempt.
Right. Your critical reasoning hard accuracy improved from 70%
Right.
to 87%.
Yep.
Right. So fantastic. Right. Now that we've understood your verbal journey and the things that you did to improve on verbal, let's understand the mock journey. You
Hmm.
had variety of scores. You had a 685, 715s. You had official mocks. You had 765s and 755s also.
Right.
But more than that, I want you to just help me understand what were you doing between two mocks. What corrective actions were you taking to look for some improvement in the next mock? That is all I want to know.
Right. So, like I have already mentioned in my previous statements, that analysis is one thing that I heavily relied on. Uh, if anyone wants to make an improvement, be it they are at a 555 score or a 755 score, if they need to improve, they have to go through the process of drilling down the mistakes that they made in their first mock, and going multiple levels at the analysis. For example, let me walk you through an example that
Sure.
I scored lesser in verbal. So there can be two analysis of it. That one, my verbal is weak, and I start solving as many questions that are available,
Mhm.
and hoping that my accuracy improves. Second is thinking why my verbal is weak. So I went a step further. I realized that CR is okay, but there were some shortcomings in my RC. I was scoring around 50% accuracy in RC. Now I went a step further. That why is my RC not improving, and why am I scoring so poorly in RC? This is
Mhm.
where maintaining an error log comes into picture, and
Right.
this is why maintaining an error log start right from the starting comes in very handy. That I
Right.
started observing a pattern that I was making mistakes in inference based questions. So uh, then this is when I uh, started finding the patterns in my questions, in my mistakes. And once I was able to gauge that pattern, I was able to recognize that pattern. I made improvements. I tweaked some strategies. And as a result of which, after writing the second mock test, improving further on that, after analyzing the mistakes that I made in the second mock test, I incorporated those learnings out of it into the third mock test. This is a
Right.
step by step process. And eventually, you might not see the success overnight, but over the course of 15 days, 20 days, and over the course of 2 to 3 months, you will start seeing improvements. And
Right.
this is the process that I followed, which took me from a verbal 79 to verbal 83 in my second attempt.
Okay. Understood. Thank you so much for illustrating that as well.
Right.
All right, Ayush. Let's move to the test day experience. What exactly was going through your mind? How was it? Was the experience good? Were there any hiccups in between? How was it like?
No, there were no hiccups that I could think of. In fact, the overall process was very smoothly conducted. In fact, I took both my attempts at the same center. Reason being that when I first took it, the process was very smooth and very convenient to me, which is why I took the second attempt also at the same center. Uh, and the practice that I have put in over the last 3 months before going to the first and in fact to the second attempts, I was fairly confident of the efforts that I have put in. I was fairly confident of the progress that I have made. So I did not have any anxiety going into the exam. I was so sure short of the strategies that I have made that I was comfortable with it during the exam. And the exam felt like a very a breather for me, and it was very comfortable for me. I did not
Okay,
feel any hiccups, any disturbances, and like I mentioned, that Scholarinium and the e-GMAT course has prepared us for the worst. The difficulty level of the questions that we have is so high, and once
right.
you are used to and accustomed to the higher difficulty level questions, the questions in official mock test and the official exam seem so easy and so doable to us that there were no challenges offered to me while the actual exam.
Fantastic, fantastic. So, Ayush, we've gone through your entire journey, right? And you've already shared a lot that you could. I can actually feel the effort that you're putting to make sure that anybody listening to you understands what exactly you're saying.
Right.
By when you're giving examples, you're be making us walk through your thought process. So I really appreciate that, Ayush. So Ayush, with this we come to the end of this session, right? And again, thank you so much and well done on this session, because I'm sure even if you are able to help one person out of your journey, I think you coming here would be a huge success.
Right. So while I was preparing for GMAT, uh, I have viewed multiple videos of this sort where
Right,
people from e-GMAT team would be interviewing the candidates who have scored uh, very heavily or very progressively on their GMAT scores. So this is where I thought that one day if I score the score that I'm aiming for, if I score that, I should
yeah,
be on the other side of the screen. So
right,
I think which is why I am trying my level best to make sure that whatever I have gone through, whatever have taken from my journey, I should be able to deliver that, and I
right.
should be able to explain to the viewers so that if there is a point or if there is just a single point of improvement that they could take out of it and can implement in their journey, I think I have done my part.
I'm glad, Ayush. I'm sure you have. So thank you so much, Ayush. Keep us posted about your application journey as well, and we would love to celebrate more victories with you.
Thank you so much. And I would like to take this time, a moment of appreciation for the e-GMAT team, especially you, Dhruv, Rida, and everyone from the support team, and specifically Payal ma'am also. The playlist that she has created are very thorough and very immense and it is very useful for every kind of individual, whether you are a beginner or at an intermediate level. It is useful for everyone and anyone out there. So I would like to thank and dedicate the score that I have achieved. A huge part of the success goes to the e-GMAT team. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's very sweet of you. Okay, Ayush. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.